Hello, everyone. This is Nayiri from Low Carb and Fasting. Now, for those of you familiar with the channel, you know that I've covered the carnivore diet on numerous occasions. And the most popular video I have on the carnivore diet on my channel is my interview with the author of the carnivore diet, Dr. Shawn Baker. I'll put the link below so you can check it out if you haven't seen that video. It's the most popular video on my channel, by the way. But today's recording or today's episode is going to cover the carnivore diet from a different perspective, from the perspective of someone who actually transformed their life and their health by adopting the carnivore diet. So it's a carnivore diet success story, and I'm very excited to share it with you. So with us, we have Gulli from Iceland. Gulli, hello.
Hi, really great to be here. Really great to be here.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome to Low Carb and Fasting. So Gulli, why don't you start with a very brief introduction of who you are, where you live. Obviously, I said Iceland already, and what you do in life, and then we'll move on to your health journey.
Oh yeah. I think the best way to describe pretty much my entire life is carb addiction, and I think it will pretty accurately flow everything I've ever done in my life, and it's all been in Iceland. I did live for a brief period in Paris and stuff like that, but everything I've done, I've got a bachelor's degree, I've done master's program, but everything sort of flowed with the ebb and flow of carb addiction, because I would gain great success for a very short period of time, but the carbs would always get me, and I would always have to focus on getting rid of carbs in one form or another. I didn't call it carb addiction then. I called it sugar addiction, or I called it, had a problem with food or stuff like that. But so to say that, usually I would say stuff like I'm Gulli, I'm from Iceland, and I'm a carb addict. That would probably sum up my journey through life. I have a bachelor's degree in business. I have two amazing daughters. And I'm working today by making audio programs and different digital files and stuff like that. But mainly, what I would like to focus on in life is to help people with carb addiction. And what I mean by carb addiction, and why I think carnivore is the best way for it, is that I never really knew why it would be carb addiction, or not just sugar addiction, or not just the worst carb addictions, because to say that this revolutionized my life, and to say that it changed everything for me, because it changed my job, it changed my relationship with my kids, it changed my relationship with everyone that I've interacted with since I started doing carnivore. It's because I was a total slave to carbs, and any way for me to try and tell anybody about my life without saying first and foremost carb addict would diminish my true life story, because I think that has been my most defining factor. Everything has revolved around either eating, or getting away from food, or getting in shape, or doing my whole life, everything about my kids and how I need to get in shape, because otherwise I won't be able to play with them, and I won't be able to do this. And my job, I have such trouble focusing after I eat lunch, and it's hard to get the day, but I need to eat something, and when with exercise. So yeah, carb addict. Hi, I'm Gulli, I'm from Iceland, and I'm a carb addict in recovery. And I would like to find a way to help other people to do the same. That is pretty much my goal in life right now.
Gulli, thank you for that introduction. And for our audience, where can they follow you? I know you're on Instagram under the name Carnivore Iceland. Yeah, that's the best place, right?
Yeah, Carnivore Iceland there, and I'm also on. I just started. I pretty much when I thought about, okay, how can I share this, because it's so simple. I've struggled with carb addiction my whole life, and the reason why I want to talk about the carnivore diet is this is the only thing that is effortless. It is the only thing that takes away my total addiction without it. I mean, after 3 weeks of just eating meat, after 3 weeks of that, there are no cravings. I am not a slave anymore. And I wish I could just take, because I know the pain. I know the pain of sitting at home, and I know the pain of going through your cupboards and fighting with your brain and just screaming, I don't want to eat, I don't want to eat, I don't want to eat, I don't want to get fat again, I don't want to screw up my life again. And you're just like trying to fight it, but you can't stop going through cupboards and your fridge and all that. And for this to have just disappeared in 3 weeks, 3 weeks, carbs were gone from my system, and it was just like, oh, where's that big chunk of my day where I just had to fight with food. I was either fighting with food because I was overeating or because I was trying not to overeat. So it's,
I met you at the PHC conference in Sheffield just a few weeks ago. And of course, we had Dr. Jen Unwin there, who's a clinical psychotherapist. And she helps people with food addictions, but she also herself was a carb addict. And when I interviewed her on this channel, she said it took her 10 days on a carnivore diet. And she said the withdrawals were unbearable.
Oh, yeah.
They were very, very difficult. She literally shut herself in a barn in their country home, in the barn where she had no access to junk food. It took her 10 days. And then her body, her mind, everything had changed. After the 10 days, after she put up with those 10 days of torture, everything had changed in her life. So it's interesting to hear that from you too. So 3 weeks, and then your whole cravings go away, and the carb addiction goes away. So let's go back to the beginning. So you obviously lost a lot of weight as well. So when did you actually start putting on weight?
When I was a kid. I started putting on weight when I was a kid. I had a very unhealthy, like I say, I can't really talk about my life without talking about carb addiction. I got so excited before that I didn't finish telling you where I could be found on social media. I just went to Facebook, YouTube, and everything, and I all started it under Carnivore Iceland, so people can find me there. But like I said, I've been a carb addict my whole life. So when I was a kid, I would gain weight, and then I would try some crazy. I even started dieting when I was 8. And I would lose weight, and then I would gain weight, and then I would lose weight, and then I grew a lot. I got very tall when I was 14, and started playing a lot of basketball. So for like 4 years, I was relatively thin, and a lot of exercise and stuff like that. But I would still have these bouts of just massive eating and stuff like that, and still sort of uncontrollable when it came to carbs. But I sort of kept it at bay with exercise. Then at one point, I stopped exercising when I was like 18 or something like that, and I just started to get fat. And after that, it was just a constant sort of yo-yo effect upwards, and I would always just be getting fatter and fatter and fatter, and in between I would lose weight, and I was always just losing more and more and more control. I've been in programs to help people with overeating. I've been in multiple things that have helped me along the way, but nothing really ever took away my addiction. I think the heaviest I got was 230 kilos, which is, I think 506 pounds, something like that. I think that's the heaviest I've been. And I think that was, I've been that a couple of times, but the last time I was that was New Year's 2021, 2022. So I am, that's 150, I've lost 150 pounds since then, something like that. And because I weigh 158 kilos now, which so, and I used to weigh 230. I wrote it down just because I always use kilos, so I was just to get the conversions right. But so it's been a struggle my whole life with this, and I've had various programs. I've been to psychiatrists and well-meaning people and well-meaning organizations, but nothing really took away the things that caused me addiction. Caused me. It's like all the programs I was doing, I was like an alcoholic that was said, oh yeah, but just drink, just drink 2 beers a day, just 4 beers a day. I mean, just one shot's not going to hurt you or something like that. And why can't you control your drinking? It's just like, but for real, when I started carnivore, in just 4 months, I lost I lost 40 kilos. That's like 10 kilos a month, which is, I lost 88 pounds in 4 months, and it just it's just gone. And that was I had even been doing intermittent fasting before that, so I'd even lost all the water weight, but I still lost 88 pounds in 4 months. And so I don't know, I can't really explain this to someone who doesn't know addiction, but I think it's sort of like, if you can relate to addiction even a little bit, just imagine that everything went away. And just imagine that whatever you're addicted to, it suddenly didn't call you. It didn't pull you in. It didn't call to you. You were just free. And imagine the time you'd have. Imagine the new perspective you would have for life. Imagine the time with your friends that you previously spent partly thinking about whatever your addiction was. Imagine the difference in scheduling your life, because now you're not scheduling, oh, okay, when I get away from these people, I can go home and eat, or I can go home and do this, or I can wake up early in the morning. Or the reverse, when you're dieting, it's like, oh, I can't eat with them, because if I eat with them, I'll get triggered and I'll eat the wrong foods and stuff. So to find something, just anything that takes away all your triggers, just takes away all your addiction, this feels like a silver bullet. And it feels like a silver bullet for all the things that I wanted, because it feels like a silver bullet for my relationships with people, relationships with my kids, relationships with my family. It feels like a silver bullet when it comes to food, when it comes to exercise, because when I'm carnivore, it's so easy to exercise. It's so easy, and I don't get the joint pain. I mean, to talk about all the myriad of physical complications that I had, joint pain, because mostly probably because of weight, I thought, but I was still really, really heavy. It didn't take many months for my joint pain to go away. It didn't take long for my gout symptoms to reduce. It didn't take long for me to not need, what's it called? Medication to feel better in my brain. It didn't take long for me not to have to self-medicate just to be alive. And how can one thing do all these things? How can one thing influence everything in my life, every aspect? I mean, and how could I not call this a silver bullet? Because it influences everything. And I feel better, and I obviously look better than I did. I mean, I like I said, I used to weigh, and it was hard leaving the house, because when you always have addiction in your mind, it's really hard to negotiate with yourself wherever you go, or whatever you're doing, however you're trying to interact with people or situations, because you're always in the back of your mind. You're like, what if I lose control? What if this, what if that? But like when I was at the public health collaboration conference with you, I didn't eat during the day because the food they were serving didn't really suit me, and it didn't bother me at all. I didn't need food, because I was now using proteins and fat as my energy storage, which doesn't really need this constant give me something to eat, and so not just do I have something that affects all of these things, but I also have a fuel source, that my own physical fat and body that I have on my body, that I'm constantly using for my energy source, for my daily routine. So I have a more stable energy flow during the day. My mind is clearer. It's easier to focus on tasks. So this is much better for whatever work I do or whatever I'm doing. I have an easier time reaching people. And whatever things that I'm still struggling with, whatever, because I'm always getting better and better and better as the days go by, I can see how they are a consequence of all these years of pretty much poisoning myself with foods that are not good for the human body, that we have only been eating for the last 50 years, all the processed foods and stuff like that, and only the last 100 years for some of the other foods. And for the majority of our existence as a species, we only ate meat, because we were in a frozen tundra, we were in an ice age, and we only ate meat. And And our body is adapted to that. We know we can eat that. So when we are in doubt, when there is a problem, we can always go back to what really truly works for our species: meat.
Mm-hmm. Gulli, you mentioned the numerous different interventions you've tried as a child.
Right.
And from what I remember, I think you were saying that your mother was a nutritionist or dietitian. So she would have tried
Oh, yeah. Oof. Oh, yes.
all she could to actually prevent your weight gain. And because, of course, her training wouldn't have included, or her knowledge and expertise would have been focused on calorie counting, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Let's talk about that.
yeah.
And it didn't work for you, clearly. You said it didn't work for you.
No, I think my mother, she's not really a licensed nutritionist, but she's been helping people with different types of diets throughout the years. She's been helping people here in Iceland. She's had seminars and she's written books and all that stuff. And she's had a very, very popular program here in Iceland called Hreint Matre, which means pure food. For me, now that I realize it, for me, pure food would just be meat, fish, eggs, pure food, and as much of that as you can, tolerate. And then we can talk about butter and stuff like that. And but that's, that would be pure food for me. But my mother has had other ideas through the years, which she's tried to integrate with me. At one point, it was vegetarian. At one point, it was. It's been a lot of different things that I've tried. I've tried being vegan. I've tried being vegetarian. I've tried numerous things, and nothing has taken away the addiction. The only thing that's taken away the addiction is being carnivore. The only thing that's taken away the cravings. The only thing that's taken away my inability to say no when I go into the kitchen, and it's so hard. It's so hard to imagine life that, because this is such a simple solution. It does not cost money. It doesn't cost anything extra. And this could have been fixed when I was 6. It could have been fixed at the first signs of everything. I don't think I was enough pain then to buy into the whole thing. And I think sugar and carbs are so easily and readily available and pushed on people wherever they go that I think it would have been harder. But after numerous times of being, presented with how hard it is for me to function when I'm eating carbs, I would have been able to go, oh, okay, so I just need to eat meat and eggs and all that. But my mother tried various different other things, and it just, I mean, I remember one time when I was 13, I had gained a lot of weight, and it was really hard being in high school and all that stuff. And it was a really hard adaptation, and I was being teased a lot. So we went to the countryside for 2 weeks, and I ate the previous week. I ate nothing but steamed. No, it was fasting for 2 weeks, and I was also getting an enema every day, and it was just like, it was a sort of a type of attempt to help me clean out or whatever. And I remember this one point where everyone left the house, and I was left alone for, I don't know, 5 minutes. And I remember standing in the kitchen, and I just remember this uncontrollable craziness that came over me. And I saw this jar, and I'll never forget it. I saw this jar of peanuts, and it had chocolate bits in it, chocolate bits and peanuts together. And I think I finished that thing in 5 minutes. And I just couldn't stop myself. And once I started, I just couldn't stop. And I think it was actually not what I ate, but I think the reaction was natural. I think the reaction to something as unhealthy as just drinking vegetable broth for 2 weeks, I think my body was just screaming for meat and fat. And I think that's the problem, because we demonized fat in the 70s. And that's why people aren't, because we had sugar before that. But once we demonized fat, people never got the nutrients they needed. And so they ate more and more and more and more sugar, because they were always craving what their body really wanted, which was fat. And there I am standing in the kitchen craving fat and protein. I didn't know that. Craving meat, but all I could see was, what had given me a a good feeling before. I could see that, so I couldn't stop myself, and I stuffed. And for people that think, because she's right, the addiction expert you had on, she's really right. Jen is an amazing person, and it only takes 10 days for most of the everything to go away. So if I was not eating in that 14-day period, if I had not been eating the things that actively give me addiction, that would not have happened towards what I was looking up at the ceiling. But I wasn't. I was still eating plant things. I was drinking boiled plant juice. So I still had the full carb addiction within me. And I've tried so many things since then. And luckily I've never had an operation, though many people have tried to push that on me, many doctors. And I've never taken drugs, luckily. And the reason is because with all my yo-yo things, because I've lost and gained weight for everything, I know I can lose weight, but I know no matter how good I feel or how great my life is going, I will eat again. That's what I used to know before I started carnivore, because when I was eating carbs, when I eat carbs, I know I will start again. It's just a matter of time, because when you're fighting cravings every day, you can't win. You can't win when you're that addicted, because sooner or later you're going to lose. Sooner or later, you're going to feel bad enough. Something's going to happen in life, and you're going to feel bad enough. And the reason not to go into that cupboard, the reason not to eat that stuff, the reason not to go home and binge, it's just not going to be there, unless there is no calling, unless there is nothing calling to that, unless you're satiated, And when I eat carnivore diet, not only am I losing weight, not only am I getting much stronger, and people can see on my Instagram profile me lifting, bench pressing 300 something pounds or something. I mean, just ridiculous things, because I was a couch potato 6 months ago, and I'm doing these things, and I'm deadlifting and all that stuff, and I'm losing weight at the same time. And I'm still so satiated that I never need to eat anything else. And for people to say, well, you're just an anecdotal evidence. Actually, I'm one of many, 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 many people. But even if I was just the one, with my story, with everything I've been through, with everything I've had to contend when it comes to food, why would you not check it out? Why would you not try it for yourself? If you even have a microbe of these problems that I've been mentioning, even if there is just a little part of you, just a small part of you that feels addicted, that feels this pain, that feels this total uncontrollable need to eat more, why would you not try it? Because even if I was just this one person, even if nobody else has said it, because my story is just so clear, I have never been able to control this. And I have tried so many things to be able to control this. And I've had so many reasons not to eat. I've had so many clear messages of, I will leave you. You will lose this. Everything will go to hell. And they did, after I started eating and gained all the weight back and everything got screwed up, but I still couldn't stop myself from eating. So if I find something, sorry.
So you brought up something really interesting. You were talking about the triggers, what triggers you to trigger foods. I know it's a thing because in every addiction group that I could find on Facebook, and particularly Jo Nifland, and I've covered Dr. Jo Nifland. I've covered food addictions with her, and I'm also in Dr. Vera Tarman's group. And most people who post in there talk about, trigger foods. For some people, for example, even something like fruit or vegetables could trigger them to eat. Once they have one piece of fruit, they get that sugar taste, that sweet taste, and then they're overeating the whole tub of blueberries, and then they go for that ice cream. So have you found that that's true for you too? It may not be fruit, it may be peanuts. It may be just a handful of peanuts, and then you find yourself finishing the whole.
I remember when I was 22, I was eating a diet. It was eat right for your blood type or something like that. And so I wake up. I couldn't fall asleep because I was still so hungry and I'd eaten so much, but I still couldn't fall asleep. So I go downstairs and I'm just like, I need to stay within the diet, And I'm 20, yeah, I think 22, yeah. And so I go downstairs, everybody's asleep, and I you know, you remember these moments because they are, if you think about them, they're horrifying, you know, and you never forget stuff like this, and you just, and I was standing there, and I'd often lost myself towards eating stuff that, you know, I have countless stories of eating M&Ms and Snickers and all that stuff, you know, I have countless stories of that. But this one was kind of crazy because I go downstairs and I'm just like, I'm going to stay in the diet. 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 I'm just mantra saying this to myself over and over again. I opened the fridge and there was a bag of carrots. And I look at the bag of carrots and I don't really want the carrots, but I think, you know, this is better than whatever else, you know. And I'm just standing there and I'm still at the fridge and I don't even sit down. And I just stand there and it was like, you know, and I started eating carrots and I ate the whole bag. It was a really big bag of carrots. My jaw afterwards was really bad for weeks, actually, because it was just so hard eating the carrots, the whole thing, you know, and especially the speed at which I was eating because I wasn't eating it. I've seen pictures of people that are starving, and when they start eating, if nobody stops them, I pretty much looked like that. You know, I was just, you know, it's just this craze. I need, you know, because I wasn't really getting the nutrients I needed. We haven't been getting them since the 70s. I mean, even if normal people would just eat more fat, even if they just did that, just that one thing, so much would get fixed in their life because they're not getting the nutrients they need. So they always have a craving for more. They have a craving for something that they're just not getting, you know, because we villainized fat when when, you know, the sugar industry paid off that research, which is not, you know, again,
And
you know,
protein.
yeah, but what I mean is that a lot of people eat protein in some source or another, but they're always doing like low fat. Like, oh no, I take the red of the egg out of it, you know, the yolk away, and it's just like you're taking the most important part of the egg away.
But Gulli, a lot of, I mean, I have to make this point. A lot of people, a lot of my clients, for example, also aren't eating sufficient protein. They're not because they're worried about, oh, protein and kidney disease, protein and fatty liver disease, protein and this, protein and heart attacks. They're even avoiding, or they're having the minimum, if that amount of protein required for you know, for their body to function properly, because the nutrients actually are mostly in protein. Yes, fat contains some nutrients, but the nutrients are in the protein. And if you're not eating sufficient protein, you're not going to be satiated. So a
Yeah,
lot
and
of my
building
clients,
blocks for everything. Yeah.
a lot of my clients aren't eating enough protein. Forget the fat. Fat is one. They're definitely not eating enough fat, but they're not even eating enough protein. So what's left? What are they eating? They're eating
Carbohydrates, you know, and that's the carrot story in a nutshell. Because I'm standing there, and no amount of carrots would have fixed what, you know, like you say, I needed protein and fat. I didn't just need fat; I needed proteins, you know. And then I was still trying to eat chicken and stuff like that. So maybe I was getting enough protein, maybe, you know, because that's how I thought about it, that I was getting enough protein. But and I definitely get that on the carnivore diet. I definitely get enough protein because I eat as much I want whenever I want, and I still lose weight and I still get stronger and I still, you know. So but the big part for me is standing there. And you were talking about a healthy food that you can lose yourself to, and I stand there with a carrot and I can't stop eating, and a bag of carrots. And if you've ever eaten a lot of carrots, I don't know how many people have tried this, your jaw gets really tired really quickly, especially if you're, again, not eating enough proteins and fats, because, you know, you don't really have the muscles, and I got locked jaw, and it really hurts, but I still kept eating, you know, because, and people will say, well, you know, that's not a really good example because that's, you know, not a lot of people can relate to it, but I'm just showing how, because I got a lot of stories that people can relate to, like losing myself with ice cream and losing myself with that. But what I mean to say is that people that are, you know, people, I totally get that not everybody has as exaggerated story as mine. Well, not exaggerate. What's it called? Like when it's so powerful, when it's has such a powerful food addiction like me. A lot of people have a smaller degree of it. But what I mean to say is, like, what's important about the carrot story is that even carrots will give you addiction. Even blueberries will give you addiction. Even apples will give you addiction if you have that addiction thing in you. And not only has the carnivore diet helped people that are addicts, it's helped pretty much. I still haven't found anyone that tried it wholly that didn't see a vast change in everything. A lot of people just don't like the discomfort of having a hard time to order out, or you have to pretty much cook everything. So it's kind of harder to travel and stuff like that. So usually if they stop the carnivore diet, it's usually because of something like that. And they'll say stuff like, oh, it didn't work for me. But they're not talking about the diet itself. They're talking about their life getting in the way. But with all the pain that I've been through, I'm willing to sacrifice all those things, because what I'm getting is the silver bullet to all the things that. So I'm hoping that anyone that's listening, if you've ever felt this total lack of control towards food, or even just a little bit of what I'm talking about, even if you've just went out and you just didn't want to buy candy, but still you buy candy, you came home and you're sitting there and you're just eating, and maybe a lot of your life has been put to this. If you go over to a carnivore diet, this will go away. All of it. All of your cravings will go away. And you will look at yourself and all the time that you have and all the things that are changing in your life, and you will cry. You will cry in gratitude. I made a video that I put on Instagram, and I was just like, the top thing in every carnivore mind must be gratitude. Because whatever you were fighting with, where it was a chronic disease, whether it was, like a lot of people fighting diabetes, or they're fighting Crohn's, or they're fighting this and all that gets better, with just changing the diet, These are people like me who have been struggling their whole lives going through this, or people with chronic disease that have been struggling their whole life and going from doctor to doctor to doctor, different medication, different treatments, different everything. And then all of a sudden, all you do is change your diet, and it doesn't cost any extra money. Nobody has to stand there and help you. Nobody has to do anything. All you just do is eat meat, and everything changes in your life. Even if I was just the one person that heard it, please, if you're suffering, try it. Just try it. Just give it a month. Everything will change in your life for the better. Please, because I wish I could stand on a box outside and scream this to people. I wish I could go into every hospital in the world and scream, you can feel better. I wish. And let's say I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. But let's say I'm exaggerating, even if just a part of what I'm saying is true. Why wouldn't you try it? Why? What do you got to lose? What's 1 month of your life? Even if you're suffering 1 month of your life of trying something to help yourself, it's nothing. It's nothing. Please, if you're suffering, you don't have to suffer. Please, just try it. Everything will change.
What a powerful message. And no, you're certainly not the only one doing this. Many people are reporting, including actually physicians, clinicians who've tried everything else. And Dr. Tro, for example, I've interviewed him. Dr. Filippo Vaitia had this issue. Dr. Jen Unwin is again. So you're definitely not the only one. And in fact, many of my clients are interested in adopting the carnivore diet for various reasons: to lose weight, to normalize their blood sugars, to reverse chronic diseases. And they prefer to do it slowly, or to transition slowly, because they're a bit hesitant, and they don't trust that they can just do it, from one day to another. And that's fine. I support everybody doing that. I've had one client, though, and this was 2 years ago, and I've talked about his success story on numerous occasions in my Facebook groups. He wasn't a carb addict as much as he was addicted to large volumes of food. And of course, they were mostly carbohydrates. He was a pastry chef from Boston, actually. He got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. A day or two later, he contacted me, and he was extremely worried. He wanted to reverse that. He said, so we're talking about carbs, and he said, how about I eat no carbohydrates? And I said, well, all plants contain some level of carbohydrates, including the low carbohydrates sort of plant foods like your salad leaves, etc. He said, can I just leave them out? I said, yeah, can you though? Can you do it? It's called the carnivore diet. Yes, it is a thing. It used to be called the zero carb diet, but now it's called the carnivore diet. He said, I absolutely can. So what can I eat? I said, how about, bacon and eggs in the morning? He said, I love that. He loved food. And he said, how about lunch? I said, what about steak? Steak maybe with eggs. And I go, brilliant. How about dinner? I said, I was just throwing some ideas. I said, do you like seafood or fish? And yeah, he said, yeah. How about that with, with a couple of boiled eggs on the side? And he went, I can do this. Within 3 months, actually, he was no longer diabetic. He reversed his diabetes. So that's yet another story. So you're definitely not the only one.
And for me, I'd like to say about him, because I used to think I was just an overeater too, that I would just overeat and consume. But and I thought that was the problem. But I've eaten sometimes 4 pounds of meat or more in one sitting, and there's nothing, and I still lose weight and I still get stronger. The overeating part isn't the effect. If I because the reason why I was such a slave to food all the time were the carbs. The reason why I would overeat these massive amounts of food were the carbs. I probably relate with a lot of his stories, most likely. Most likely, me and him, we could sit down and we could finish each other's sentences. But I think people really need to get it, that it's the carbs. That's the problem. The overeating part, if you're overeating protein and fat, your body, you can't get there. I've eaten more than 8 pounds of meat in one day, and I still lost weight that week. That's 8 pounds of meat, more than that. Actually, no, wait a minute. That's 4.2 kilos. There's almost like 10 pounds of meat. That was one day, and I still lost weight that week. That is, I was just doing it because someone said, "Oh, you're just doing it because it's a calorie deficiency." And I said, "No, this is not about calorie deficiency. This is about, I'll try it. I'll eat a lot." And I measured all that I was eating that week, and I still lost weight. And I said, "Ha ha," because I wanted to prove a point, because it's an important point. The overeating is not the issue. The carbs are the issue. You take the carbs away, you take away the crazy addiction. And I would love to talk to that man, because I can imagine his life. I mean, we not only would we finish each other's sentences about the way we were before, but about how happy and grateful we are for the life we have today.
Gulli, let's talk about, okay, we're talking about sort of food portions and overeating and calories, right? You brought that up. And so do you now measure your macros? Because some people are really fanatical about it. They want to use an app, and it's in their character, right? They want to have specific ratios of fat to protein, etc. How do you go about it?
Well, for me, I try and listen to my body as much as I can, meaning that once I started eating carnivore, I started to feel, because I realized when I started eating carnivore that I'd never really been hungry before. I didn't know what hunger was. I had always just had cravings. I had these massive, I need something. I said, like, I need something. Getting hungry isn't that kind of feeling, because if you can imagine through our evolution, 3 million years, if you can imagine, if we got a hunger signal, we had to go out and hunt that. We had to go out and hunt something and get, so getting that massive craving, I need to eat something right now, that would be very counterproductive for us as a species. I mean, we wouldn't survive if there was just that, and we would just crash and stuff like that. So once I started eating carnivore, my signals changed. And at first I was eating very lean meats, but I would eat stuff like butter, or I would cook it in butter or stuff like that, or I'd eat but then all of a sudden my body just called for fatty meat, just all of a sudden called for it, and I think the only reason I was able to hear that or feel that was that now I could hear the signals from my body, which weren't drowned out by screams from carbohydrates. Actually, if you look at the things that happen when you're eating carbohydrates after an X amount of time, your body just literally screams for them. It just literally begs for more carbohydrates. So when I wasn't doing that, all of a sudden I could feel, oh, I know I need more fat. And the weirdest thing happened to me once. I was just like, oh, I should try liver. I've always hated liver. Always. I've always hated liver, and I couldn't imagine eating it. And then it was just like, no, I should eat it raw. And it was raw liver, and I didn't know where that came from. So I bought raw liver and I cut it up into small pieces, and I just ate a few pieces, and it didn't taste horrible. It wasn't that tangy, disgusting thing that, when you're a kid and your mother cooks, liver, and it's this dry, sort of plasticky thing that you eat. It didn't taste like that. And then I just ate that for like, I think 2 weeks, and then I just stopped eating liver. And it was obviously something I needed at the time. And now I don't, obviously, because my body isn't screaming for anything else or asking me to, and it was just different. And then I would eat something, that was lean again, and I would just feel how much lower in energy I was and how much drained I was, and all that. I was like, well, I think I should just stick with this high, a lot of fat. And I mean, if we imagine again these 3 million years that our species has been growing and evolving and all that stuff, when did we have macros? when could we count what we were eating? I mean, when could I'll eat this or that or whatever. I sometimes I ate most of the time I ate 2 times a day. It's lunch and dinner. That's most of the time, and I'm not hungry outside of that. I'm usually not even.
To be honest, I was just about to ask Gulli about, whether you're doing some form of time restricted eating, or whether you're still eating like three meals a day with snacks in between and a bedtime snack. Because people are surprised when I tell them, if you are eating this even applies to a generally low carbohydrate diet or a ketogenic diet. But for the carnivore diet, it even applies even more. You won't have the need to snack at bedtime just before going to bed. Why would you have a snack? So tell us about whether you are actually eating 9 times a day or.
Actually, I had to take. I twisted. I had to take my gout medication again for a little while because I twisted my ankle, and when I twist my ankle, the gout goes into the what's it called, the twisted ankle. It just goes into if you do something with your ligaments and you have gout, it's going to go back. It's going to sort of attack that. So I took so I had to take and I had to take it with food. So I started eating many times during the day, and it didn't really change anything for me. I would eat then breakfast and lunch, and I even had something for coffee time, but it was always just meat or, and what I call meat is like meat, fish, eggs, butter, anything pure, anything that's, any pure animal product I will eat. I don't really care what pure animal product that is. I will eat it. And it's just, but generally speaking, if I'm hungry, I eat. And if it's right before bed, I will still eat. I mean, I don't care. It's just, if I'm hungry, I eat, but usually I'm not hungry. Like when we were at the public health conference, you saw like my energy levels, and like when Sam didn't get the attention from the group, and I was like, everybody, and I had the energy to do that because my energy wasn't based on carbohydrates. It was based on the fat, in my body. I can't really explain it to someone that still eats carbohydrates because they, like you said, with eating before bed, of course, because you ate at, let's say, 8 or 9 or whatever, and you're going to bed at 11 or whatever it is, you're going to bed, and it's been X hours, and your body's just like, more carbs, give me the carbs, so you eat something before that and you fall asleep and you don't sleep really well. But when I eat fat and protein right before going to sleep, I sleep like a baby. And it's weird because I used to not also be able to lift weights or exercise right after eating, but now I can just eat and then immediately exercise or immediately lift weights or stuff like that, and it's just, there's not this burden. But usually I think it's the same for pretty much most people. I think usually most people start eating like 2 meals a day, they're just fully satiated besides that. And usually it's lunch and dinner, but sometimes people won't really mind that window. Sometimes it'll be like early lunch and late dinner, you know. Some people do that, you know, and that means the window isn't, you never get that 16/8 intermittent fasting stuff. But let's not forget that if you are carnivore, you are in a fasted state. So, I mean, so for me, I've experimented with this a lot. If it, I say do whatever comes naturally to your body. But the reason I experimented is I wanted to prove, because a lot of people would say, no, you're only losing fat because of fasting. Then I ate during the whole day and I still lost weight, you know, because I'm in a fasted state because I'm eating protein and fat. I mean, that's all I'm eating. And I think it's hard for people, and I think people also have very unrealistic, because you'll get a plateau or stuff like that, and you'll say, "Oh, I'm not losing weight, and I need to eat carbs to stimulate my this and that, so that I'll start losing weight again." No, just trust your body. If you're not losing weight for an X amount of time, trust. I mean, just imagine all the physical symptoms that are better in your body right now, and trust that your body knows when it's going to lose the extra whatever it is that you need to lose. And maybe you're not supposed to look like that supermodel that you thought you were supposed to look like. Maybe that's not a really good and healthy thing for your body, especially right now when it's trying to get back after years of you poisoning yourself. You know, years of doing this. I mean, I've done such terrible things to my body when I think about it when it comes to food. And I would say not really voluntarily, because I've pretty much been a slave to food. And so if I'm thinking about it in those terms, that I've done all these terrible things, that once my body loses the weight that it needs to lose, like right now, my body's going to say, hey, okay, now I'm going to start fixing your organs. Now I'm going to start fixing the biggest organ, your skin. Now I'm going to start fixing all these ligaments and all that you've been destroying slowly and surely. And also the research that we've seen regarding well, I'm not going to go into anything controversial, but let's just go with the smaller things like Crohn's and diabetes and all that stuff. We're just going to start fixing all these different myriads of things, because now you've finally given me space. We are not poisoning me. We are not putting in all these foods that literally work against me, all these nutrients, that anti-nutrients that I have to, and all these poisons that I literally have to filter out through my system. Okay, now you're not doing that. Okay, so for people to go on the carnivore diet and they say, well, I don't look like a supermodel, you know, it's just like, maybe that's not the way you're supposed to look. But how do you feel? How's your health? How is it, how simple is it for you to eat? How simple is it for you not to eat? Because I could go a whole day without eating, and I wouldn't really, you know, it wouldn't really bother me. But think about those things. Think about your quality of life. And think about how you're feeling, because if you are going into this for losing weight, there are probably a lot of better methods where you torture your body. When you mess with your body, you know, in a very bad way, when you mess with your body in order with carbohydrates and all that stuff, you can probably lose weight faster, probably. But what are you losing at the same time? You're losing muscle mass, you're losing bone density, you're not being healthy to your body. And what do you want? What are you looking for? I mean, if it's about paying medical bills in the future, if it's about being healthy as a grandfather, grandmother, if it's about having kids, because, I mean, if you go to Dr. Kiltz, he's a carnivore as well. If you go to Dr. Kiltz, he's showing that fertility is very related to your diet. And for 3 million years, we were able to propagate very easily because we ate protein and fat. And that people, when they start, like he said in a recent video, a stick of butter a day gets the fertility, you know, to stay, you know, and I don't know about the stick of butter, but I know fatty meat, you know, you eat that, you eat these things, you're healthy. What are you looking for? You know, are you if it's all about looks, if it's all about the weight scale, if that's the only thing that you're interested in, you probably could get better results somewhere else, you know. But what are you doing to your system? Why are you doing this to your body? Don't you want to have, you know, don't you want to be there for your grandkids? Don't you want to be there for your grandkids? Don't you want to have a great ligaments, great body, you know? Trust the process. We've been eating this for 3 million years. It's great for us. It's the best nutrients that we have. It's the best feeling that you can get in your body, and it will solve a myriad of your health problems. The cravings will go away. You may not look exactly the way you want to look. You know, maybe you're not again, and I'll use the supermodel phrase because people are so interested in looks. But look at the weights you're lifting in the gym. Look at how easy it is to interact with your friends, how easy it is to walk places, how easy it is to look at the things that are changing in your life. If you're just looking at the scale, if you're just looking at the clothes you fit in, then you're still chasing a goal of society, not a goal, your own goal. Figure out your own goals. And
What's
again,
your
if you're,
goal? What's your goal, Gulli?
it used
What
to
do
be,
you
yeah, exactly, because figure out your own goals, and I'd say that to people, if they have different goals than mine, let's go for other people's goals, and I'll go for mine. If your goal is to just lose weight and look like an Adonis, you can probably torture yourself with carbs to get that. But let's talk about my goals and what I hope are other people's goals, and what ultimately became my even higher goal now is, my ultimate goal is to be the best dad that I can be. There is no higher goal for me. And for me to be the best dad that I can be, there's nothing higher than that. There's no higher goal for me. And the way for me to be the best dad that I can be is to be ready for any adventure, which means if they're crying, I need to be able to go down to their level. Not a lot of people, I couldn't even do that physically for an X while because I was so fat. I need to be able to pick them up. I need to be able to comfort them. And I need to be able to not think of food during those hours, whatever that is, that I need to comfort and be there and all that stuff. And not cut things short because I need food or stuff like that. I want to be the best that I can so that I can be them with them for every adventure that they are going on. They're 8 and 13 right now, but there's a lot coming up. And if they want to go camping, do I have the physical body to do that? Stuff like that. And what kind of example am I towards them? That is the biggest thing. If I'm a good father, I'm a good example. And they love the fact that I'm losing weight. They love the fact that I'm doing all these things. They have cheered me on. They've done all these different things. And I can see the positive effect that I'm having on them by what I'm doing, because I'm changing my health for the better. So everything I'm doing, everything I'm thinking, it's about being the best that I can be. So my goals are not about the way I look. They are about how healthy am I? How am I going, reaching my goals and all that? How clear is my mind? How well am I communicating and all those stuff things? And carnivore has been the best way to reach those health goals. All of them. And people think, it's like being depressed. They say there's just so much research now about depression and carbs, and how ketogenic diets are helping people, and even people with schizophrenia. And you can remember Edie from the Dr. Edie from the conference, when she was showing that even schizophrenics, people that everyone says you can't stop taking medication, even schizophrenics were getting off their medications from a ketogenic diet, which is in essence what happens when you go carnivore. You get the ketosis, you get the fasted state. And why my goals all align with the myriad of health benefits that I will get from eating meat, and exclusively meat, because my goals are all health related for the future, for being the best version of myself that I can be. If people focus just on looks, just on the weight, just on the clothes they fit in and all that, they are sacrificing bone mass. They are sacrificing muscle mass. They are sacrificing other things. They're sacrificing their health. They are sacrificing the things that really matter. And I mean, if after 10 years, I have to be hospitalized for 3 weeks because today I decide I need to lose the weight faster, or today, or stuff like that. I mean, all your goals, in my opinion, should have a long-term aspect to them. So whatever is really, really important to you, you have to find it. And this is why I think, your life really, really starts when you get kids, because, then you have this
drive.
It's not about just today. It's not about just today. It's about, and I think you get real perspective about what truly really matters. I am so much healthier than I've been. I don't get sick when other people get sick. I can be around people that are sick. They can cough in my face. Some have, many people have actually. I even drank from the same glass as someone that was sick. I didn't get sick. I didn't get the phlegm and the stuff, and I don't constantly have nose. I used to always get allergies during this season. Always get allergies. I don't have to take anything. I used to take massive joint medication every day that was labeled, if this starts to hurt your stomach, you need to stop immediately and contact the doctor. It was that strong. But I mean, because, and I don't take any of that anymore. I mean, this is, the changes in my life, I mean, just moving away from this massive medication, you know, it's just like, what, I mean, I hope people sit down and when they're thinking about what truly matters in life, they look at their real goals, not the goal that, because when they look at this as a diet, they start with the classic goals. And the classic goals are, I need to fit into this. I need to look like this before this summer thing or this, you know, whatever. Even if I was getting married and I wanted to fit in a suit or this or that or whatever, I would not sacrifice this because the long-term effect of sacrificing and eating carbs, I've seen them. I'm still recovering from them. I'm still recovering from eating the carbs and screwing up my life that way. So I hope when people are thinking about the carnivore diet, I don't think it's the most effective. I mean, even though I lost 88 pounds in 4 months, I think I lost that because my body really needed to lose that. Mm. And I think your body will intuitively do what it needs to do when you feed it what it's intuitively supposed to eat, you know. So I hope people, when they sit down and they sit down for the real goals, they're like, well, I want to live a long time and I want to be healthy and I want to feel good during that time. And I want to have clarity of mind. I want to have mental health. I want to be kind to the people around me. And people say, well, I can be kind even though I eat bad things. Yeah, but do you really have the energy to do that as much? Do you really have I mean, when do you go like, oh, I need to check out. I need time for me, you know, but I don't need that right now. I needed to do that a lot, but I don't need extra time for myself. I don't need to take that extra. Why? Because I'm eating in a way that is natural for my body and I don't have to spend all this extra time, mental clarity and all that stuff. So, I mean, I can't imagine what the next 6 months are going to be like.
Well, Gulli, it's been, I know we're running out of time now. It's been an inspirational conversation so far. Now, I'm pretty sure people watching us will be wondering, so what does Gulli eat on a typical day? So, because I've invited not Dr. Georgia Eat, but Edie Fox, who deals with, who has a number of clients, and she's the Black Carnivore on YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, do follow her. She's very inspirational too, and she actually, for her clients, to so that everyone feels like they can do the carnivore diet, she classifies the carnivore diet. She has 3 different categories. So with coffee, without coffee, with spices, without spices, and that. So she has 3 categories, so everyone can actually feel like they can add more meat into their diet. And so what kind of carnivore diet do you do? What do you eat on a typical day, for example?
Yeah. Oh, so with the last goal, because I forgot with the goals, my biggest goal now is to help people do the same right now. So, you know, because, you know, if you're not helping others, you know, get it, you'll lose it, in my opinion. But anyway, and I think it's very selfish just to not help other people get there. But anyway, which I'm so glad by what you do. But in a classic day for me, I'll wake up and I'll just have water, you know, just water, just really nice, drink my water. If I'm really thirsty, I'll drink a lot. If I'm not, I'll just sip slowly. I'll do, you know, the classic stuff you do in the morning, and, you know, you get on with your life and stuff like that. And then during lunchtime, I'll probably eat like somewhere around 2 pounds of meat, and I'll just have salt with that, nothing else, just salt. And then
what meat do you eat?
Mostly ruminants, mostly lamb and beef. But I mean, examples of a lunch for me would also be stuff like eggs, and I've tried eggs and sardines a couple of times. It's not really big for me, but sometimes it would be like eggs and leftover lean meat, you know, just like scrambling some eggs, or even eggs over easy and I just put them over the lean meat, so that when I would be eating, the yolks would sort of melt over the meat. It'd be very good. But usually, yeah, something like that. And the meat that I cook, if it's not fatty, I will cook it in butter and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll even add a little butter if it's not fat at all. And then I'll just use salt, you know, and then, you know, my day continues. Unless there's something like when I was taking the medication, I drank coffee again, but I had to stop drinking coffee, which, by the way, was the hardest of all the things to quit. That was the totally hardest thing. And I did that when I was, I did that after, let's see, it was like 3.5 months in, I stopped drinking. 3.5 months in, I stopped drinking coffee, and it was so hard. It's really hard, and there was like headaches and everything. So I would recommend to people that are real coffee addicts, like me, because if you're having real difficulty with quitting coffee at the same time, maybe leave that until you're a couple of months in, when it's easier. Because the good thing is, even though it was hard, my life was still so good from being carnivore that I got through it, of course. But I use stuff like Tony Robbins methods to help me kick the habit, and replaced it with like drinking hot water and stuff like that. So usually, if I'm not drinking coffee because of taking medication or whatever, stuff like that. If I'm not doing that, then I'll just drink hot water. Which is really nice, because now that you're not drinking, now that you're not eating sweets, hot water is actually just really nice. It's weird. It's really weird, and you probably don't feel it until you're like 3 weeks in. That's why I always say 3 weeks, because then sort of all the benefits were starting to kick in. And then so basically all I've had at dinner is this lunch, and this lunch, like I said, could have been fatty meat, just fatty meat, or it could have been lean meat and eggs. And then dinner rolls around. Like sometimes I'll cook a leg of lamb for lunch, and I'll have the leg of lamb, a lot of it, but then I'll cut up the rest and I'll put it in a bowl. And then for dinner, I will do the eggs then instead, if I just ate the leg of lamb during lunch. And again, just salt. I found that spices do the same thing. And it also, when I take out spices and I put them back in, they irritate my stomach. So I know they, some people don't want to go full carnivore. What I mean full carnivore is like quit the spices, quit the coffee. But most people that suffer from cravings will, and especially because especially because you got to be very careful with what's it called, with seasoning, because most seasoning has sugar in it. You have to be really, really careful when you're buying seasoning. And when you have sugar in it, you're going to feel like even after you eat meat, because you ate sugar, you're just like, ooh, what's around here? Where are the covers? So I would recommend for anyone that has any serious medical issue or has any sort of food addiction, just take it all out. You can leave the coffee in maybe for the first, because I haven't seen that coffee really causes me massive addiction. It does cause me a little discomfort, because once I took it out, I saw that I got it messed with my normal energy during the day. And when I put it back in, I can feel that I sort of drop a little bit after drinking it, because it is a bean that is sort of. But I would just recommend just meat, salt, and if you ever think, well, I don't have variety, I don't have this or that, just think about the variety 100,000 years ago. Just think about, the reason why you're craving variety, the real reason you're craving variety is because you're looking at everyone else and you're comparing yourself to them. But do you want what they have? Do you want their sickness? Do you want their illness? Do you want the problems that they're going through? Do you want the bloatedness? Do you want the pain in your teeth? Do you want because I used to always, when I drank cold water, I couldn't drink cold water without, putting my lips like this, because if the cold water touched my teeth, they were so sensitive. I don't get that anymore. Do you want the acid reflux? Do you want all these different things? But you won't have them if you're carnivore. And the reason is that, people always say, variety, everything in moderation and all that. But okay, let's think about the moderation 200 years ago. What was there to moderate? What kind of food? Oh, Doritos, it's like, no, there's no Doritos 200 years ago. There's nothing like that. You can eat, I would go to the store and I would buy, you can buy like chuck eye for much lower price than ribeye. It's a very fatty cut still, but it's a much lower price than the ribeye, and you can have that for lunch and for dinner. These are the greatest. You're eating such good meat. You're eating such good things. You're eating the things that people eat during celebrations. You're eating them every day of the year. You're eating the things that people treat themselves with during Christmas and Thanksgiving and all. You can eat that every day, every single day. You just have to skip the things that people put around them. The stuffing and the potato mash and this and all that. But you can eat all the good stuff. This won't feel restrictive because you'll feel just so incredibly good. And there's just so much. I mean, seafood and salmon and scallops, and I mean, you can have whatever you want. You can have literally whatever you want.
What a wonderful conversation. I'm so pleased you were able to make it. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully this conversation will inspire other people to at least give this a go.
Hopefully. I mean, because especially if you're in pain, whatever, if it's pain, physical pain, or if you're in addiction pain, please, please try this. You don't have to suffer. Please.
Thank you for watching this. If you're watching this, everyone, so I will do more carnivore success stories in the future, but Gulli was definitely the first one, and what a role model. Thank you once again, Gulli, and bye for now.